For all things outdoors, listen to the father of two, the Jesus-loving, TV show hosting, hairy, true-blood American redneck, Ben Cole.
And listen to the outdoor filming, chef cooking, chocolate milk drinking, John Weissmuller. We are
Rooted Podcast.
Man, I'll tell you, the craziest thing's been going on. You know, we're talking about bow hunting on this particular episode. I have been chasing a 6-point for a while. And I mean, he is a bruiser of a 6-point. He is old. He has been beat up. Just a rough old
He's
rascal.
been through it.
One of his eyes got, one of his eyes got poked out the other night. And he's got a mass on his lower leg. And I thought,
Wow.
I'm going to have to get after this old boy.
goodness.
Dude, he's smart. So the wind was right. Everything was lining up to be perfect. Man, I've watched him for a long time on video or on camera. And the day of, I go and get in my saddle. Well, the wind
Right.
shifts halfway through the hunt. And I was thinking, golly bum, what an aggravation is this? I've been not hunting this deer because the wind was wrong
Oh,
for 2
man.
weeks. And now it's finally right. I go in to hunt him, and it shifts halfway through. I was like, oh, the weatherman was wrong again. Wrong again, Johnny boy.
That's it. Wrong.
But, dude, so tell me how you got started in archery and kind of what was your first bow and what was your first kill with your bow?
Yeah, man. So I got into archery just because, like most deer hunters, I started with a firearm. Had me a 30-30 Marlin, lever action. That's what I killed my first deer with. And then the more I got into hunting, the older I got, I was like, I want to try new things. And I'm, watching YouTube videos and I see all these people shooting with bows. And I'm like, well, what's a bow? That sounds cool. I want to do that. So, I go to the Bass Pro and I get me a little Bear Attitude. I saved up all my money for it. And of course, it came with everything, the whisker biscuit and the, stabilizer and the sights and the quiver. And, I bought a release. I bought a, 6-pack of arrows, some broadheads and field points and a little crappy target. And, I was ready to rock and roll, man. And then, so, I'm practicing and I'm watching videos and then finally, early October, I'm in a hang-on. I'm in this little creek bottom with 2 ridges on either side coming in. And here come a group of does. And I got this little Tacticam on so I can film my hunt, and be like all the cool people. And, this deer comes up and, dude, I pull back on this deer that's like 35, 40 yards away. I'm breathing, I'm burying my pin, I'm doing everything my dad told me to do. And I open, for whatever reason, I open my left eye and there's a deer like right there. I'm like, oh, well, you're way closer. Shift to that deer. One, top pin, let her rip, and that deer, I watched that deer fall over, and man, ever since then, I've hooked. That was, I don't know, 4 years ago or so, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was. And it doesn't take much for you to get hooked. And so, ever since saving all my money and then, going out there and getting it done for the first time, man, it's, ever since then I've been hooked and I do it all the time and I can't get enough of it. So that's how Johnny Wise got into the bow hunting game.
So what did you feel when you took your first deer? What was the feelings that you had?
Man, you're obviously there's the feeling that every hunter should feel of gratitude, right? That you just took an animal's life and that animal's going to do so much. But then there's this feeling of accomplishment and this feeling of, success and excitement that it finally, all the practice, all the hard work, saving up the money, spending the hours practicing, spending all the hours before that messing up, and it finally all came together. And you're just overrun with all these things, and man, it's a special, special feeling that I hope everyone can feel one day.
Man, it's great that you say that because I remember my very first bow was a high country youth bow, drawing 35 to 40 pounds. I was in Mississippi at one of my dad's friends' places, and he was like, "Yeah, man, look, these deer come out right by the house all the time." And I was thinking, "Hey, no way, they're gonna walk out right by this house."
Like,
And dude, I'm like, I'd already killed a deer early, so I started with a gun just like you did,
showing up.
a little Remington 260 short barrel.
That's awesome.
Still have that gun to this day. In fact, I killed a deer with it last year at Sinking Creek Ranch. Man, that
Really?
buck was a hammer. Yeah, dude, that buck was a hammer, and both of his antlers fell off the second I pulled the trigger, and that bullet hit him. They just went boop, right on off. I was like, well, good.
Late season
That's just
deer.
what we like. Yeah, man. But the thing of it wasn't even late season. It was I mean, I guess it was late season technically, but it was the first week of January.
Yeah.
It shouldn't
Right.
have just. They should still have their antlers through January, at least through February here. But that one didn't. But
Yeah, right.
back
Well,
to
yeah,
the bow hunting that
exactly.
we're talking about. So I killed my first deer when I was 6, or yeah, 6. Yeah, I was 6. It's mounted up here above my desk right now. It was a little basket rack 8-point. Dude, I was so excited. I mean, man, I couldn't tell you
Yeah, dude.
the overwhelming feeling of, like you said, of gratitude. But then when I stepped to a bow, that was something totally different. Now, am I the world's
You
greatest
talk
bow
about a
hunter?
game
Heck
changer.
no.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, but dude, I'm not the best bow hunter in the world because I move a lot, and all that. So I'm a much better gun hunter because I can shoot them from a distance and we're good. Uh,
Me and you
but
both.
man, that first deer, I remember it vividly. I was sitting in this little, oh gosh, it was a Summit little climbing stand. I had climbed up. No, it was a ladder stand. My dad hung a ladder stand for me right on the edge of this field, right by the house we were staying in. And in fact, the guy's name was Mr. Upchurch. I'll never forget him. He was a Korean War veteran, and dude, he was a phenomenal human, and I respect him and thank him for his service. In fact, anybody else who served, man, I just have a lot of deep respect for him. But anyway,
For sure.
he told me, he said, "Man, those deers, they're going to come out right here, right at about dark." And I'd already been burnt twice over there because first time I was ready to get down and go eat a biscuit, and I let my bow down. Well, here comes 2 bucks just cruising right through. 15 yards
imagine that.
right on. I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" I mean, but I was so young, man. I had no idea that deer still moved at 8 o'clock. I thought, man, they're gonna move right at daylight and right at dark, and that's it. No in between.
Yep.
But I learned a lot over the years, and I will never forget that first afternoon I drew back that bow and sank it in that old nanny. I thought, boy, I've really done it. I mean, I got so excited. And then I got nervous because I thought,
Yeah,
well,
man.
now I can't find her. I was like, well, gosh dang, I can't find this dang deer. And I'd never blood trailed deer before, so how should I have expected to be able to do that when I've never done it before? So I went off down
Yeah.
in the holler with Dad, and Mr. Upchurch was like, well, here it is, 40 yards from your tree. 40 yards
That's
from the tree.
awesome, dude.
Dude,
Oh my
Park
goodness.
shot that deer,
That's incredible.
man. And then, you were on the hunt with me 2 years ago when we were in Oklahoma and shot that buck with a
Mhm.
bow. Dude, that is today still the best bow buck I've ever taken. And I think my shoulder is still sore from the fist pounding
Yeah, it's
going into that one.
Hey man, listen, I will tell you this right now. If you do not get excited, you just need to put it up, buddy, because it ain't for you.
You do. No, it ain't for you. It ain't for you at all, man. And you know, I just, I'm just
But
so thankful that God has given us so many opportunities over the years. And I was meaning to ask you. I mean,
absolutely.
what have you taken? What's your best buck with a bow? You saw mine because you were with me. We were filming together.
Yeah, yeah. No, man, my best with buck with a bow is just this little tiny 6 point. It was actually limping, which is the reason I took the deer. It came into my food plot, man, and it would not put any sort of pressure on its front left leg, and it was in a bad way. And you know, like it or not, that deer was going to die a much more painful death than my arrow. So
Hmm.
I put it out of its misery, and but man, that's it. It's really just been does, and then that little 6 point that was injured pretty good, but man, still a phenomenal hunt and a phenomenal story, and a memory I'll never forget. That I can tell you that right now. I mean, it's on the wall, proud as could be. I promise you
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, man. And to me, it's not necessarily about the size of the antlers of the deer. It's more about the age of the deer and the health of the deer too. I think there's a lot of things that go into effect on that.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
we have some pretty brutal winters here in Tennessee. A lot of people don't realize how brutal it can be here. Now we're not Midwest.
it can
We
get
don't get that
rough.
cold, but we're not the
No,
North
no,
cold
no,
either.
no.
But we can
But
still get
still,
really cold here.
but hey,
And
I and this kind of brings something that you touched on earlier about that big 6 point. Whenever the wind shifted, who's still alive and who that deer will definitely die this year if I had to guess. But the the point being is like it's kind of rare that two rednecks get excited about shooting an old 6 point, but it's just the fact of that it's an old mature deer and we're ready for it, man. I don't care if it's a six, I don't care if it's a unicorn, I don't care if it's a Alabama 11 pointer, baby. If it's
11 point.
old, I'm
Spike,
I'm
spike.
all the way in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
man, it's
dude,
like dude, I'm ready.
I have seen some of the craziest wonky horned deer that were old that wouldn't ever score more than 115, but they were 6, 7 years old, And I mean, I've got one on camera
Yeah.
right now that I guarantee you he is 8 years old, and he has the worst rack I've ever seen. That's because he's going downhill. He looks like a tank coming in, like a
Yeah.
school bus moving
Yeah.
through the yard,
Yeah.
but he is not that old or he is that old of a deer. He's just lost what he had, and his antlers are going down, and he's just like me, a pot belly.
And I want to tell you this, just because he has a small rack does not mean he will be an easy deer to kill. He didn't get old from being stupid. He's a smart deer.
No,
So
dude, that
it's not
deer's
just
super
going to be
smart.
easy to kill him.
He's been
Yeah.
on
Oh,
all of
yeah.
my cameras, and every one of them he skirts around. You can see how he skirts around it and gets
Oh.
just far enough out of range where he thinks he's not getting his picture taken, but he is. So, I thought that was
Mhm.
pretty funny. I was sitting there giggling about it the other night when I was going through the pictures on my phone. Um, but man, tell me, what broadheads are your favorite? Is it the fixed blade, mechanical? Kind of tell me what your thoughts are on the fixed blade versus mechanical.
Well, whenever I was telling you that story about that buck, I left out a very crucial part, and I apologize. That was with a crossbow, the one that was on that buck that was limping. Um, and I'll tell you why that's important. Uh, on the crossbow, I was using a mechanical. I've used mechanicals my whole entire life, um, and I've never had a problem. Um, but this particular mechanical is different than the ones I've used on my compound. And man, I put a good shot on that deer, perfect, right exactly where you want it, right through the pump house, and that broadhead did not open. Now, thankfully, a well placed shot is a well placed shot, so I got the deer, but now I run strictly fixed on the crossbow when I use it, and I used mechanicals on my compound. So to answer your question, dude, both. But I will say if I had to pick one, mechanical, because you got a little more leeway. If you got a 2 2 3/4, 3 inch cut, you can. It's a little more giving, and in that bow hunt world, 2 inches is a lot. So that's my personal preference. What about you, man? I mean, are you fixed or mechanical, or what do you like?
Man, I have gone to mechanical all the way um, until I hunt hogs. Hogs with a bow, I'm going to use a fixed blade because
Okay.
hogs have
Why's
some of the
that?
toughest hide. Dude, those rascals have the toughest hide on the market for bow hunting. I mean, like stuff we're gonna do. We're not getting into the African species or anything like that. Like the uh,
Right.
Gemsbuck or kudu or anything like that. That has to ward off lions. We're not dealing with that kind of hide. We're dealing with just a whitetail and uh, I mean, not no disrespect to the whitetail because they're a super super tough, resilient animal. But
Oh yeah.
man, I've had a lot of success with the mechanical broadhead just by what you were saying. You get that extra cut. If you're off by 2 inches, you're still going to hit something that's going to kill it. You may have to let it
Yeah.
sit overnight
Exactly.
because, man, there's a lot of times that you run into these situations to where, I mean, just this year, I ran into this situation just this year. I drew back on this doe,
Mm-hmm.
rested everything perfect. Right when I touched off, she stepped forward and it went more than 2 inches on the step forward and she ducked. So now, instead of being,
Lovely.
right behind the shoulder, we are back and up. And man, I never found her, and I'm still sick about it because if there's
Mm,
one thing I hate doing is wounding a deer. Um, I absolutely hate it. It
that's
drives me completely insane, man. It hurts my feelings real bad.
that is tough, man.
But
I mean,
yeah, I mean,
now you know, I want to touch on this too. We're talking about broadheads, right? We're talking about all these cool things, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a bow that feels comfy to you, then it's kind of pointless. Like what do you look for in a bow whenever you pick one up? Like what are you looking for? Do you have a certain type of maybe sight you like, or an arrow rest? I mean, what do you look for to that complements that broadhead?
well, man, when I pick up a bow first right off the shelf, the first thing I'm going to do is hold it and see how well balanced it is. Is it leaning one way or the other? What's it doing? Is it forward, backward, right, left? And then what I'm going to do is I love the old whisker biscuit, but it does cause a lot of friction. It is very effective and it works very, very well. Excuse me. Um, but I will say that I like the fall away rest better because it seems to be more accurate for me. It may not be that way for everybody,
Hmm.
but for me, it is more accurate in what we're doing or what I'm doing. Some people like to use the other stuff, and that's great. Um, but that's what I do is I use the fall away rest. I figure out you know, how the bow is going to set in my hand and all that. And that determines what bow I buy too. Because if it's not sitting perfect in my hand and it's not balanced the way I like it, I'm probably not going to shoot it very well. So that's what I did. I went down to Top Bait and Outdoors down in, uh, I'm going to stop right there and redo that, man. Okay. So, um, and that's what I did is I went down to Top Bait Outdoors down in Cuthbert, Georgia, and the guys down there really set me up with a solid bow. Um, Brock and Mr. Ray Lundy. Man, they're great dudes. Jason did a wonderful job setting up the bow. And to this day, it is still precisely on target. I was shooting the other day after I've been to Georgia and back to here. And that bow's been to and from with me and still shooting perfect, still right where it needs to be. And that's
Nice.
just a testament to what he is able to do as a bow tech, man. I mean, and that's important. If you don't have a good bow tech,
Oh
you're gonna
yeah.
miss a lot, or you're gonna have issues with it not being paper tuned
Well,
properly or whatever.
yeah.
There's a lot of mechanics that go into a properly tuned bow, and he has nailed it. I'm telling you, dude, those guys down at Top Bait Outdoors, they have got it figured out on the bow side because, like I said, I haven't done anything
Heck yeah.
to the bow. I haven't touched it, haven't taken it to even get it paper tuned yet, and it's still shooting perfect. And there's no arrow wobble going
Nice.
through
Well,
after you
dude,
shoot or
I
anything
mean,
like that.
you got to have a good teacher.
You do. You do.
It's just the truth.
Yeah, man. So I do that. And man, this year I actually went, I'm not really a fan of a one pin sight because I don't like having to fidget with things and turn things. And some people do, and it works great for them, but it's just not for me. But what I did do
Hmm.
is I did end up going with a pin system that is stacked on top of each other vertically instead of being horizontally like that. So it's one, two, and three, but
Okay.
they're all sitting in front of each other. Um, and it's really, it's not bad at all. So I've got the 20, 30, 40, but then I can adjust it and still shoot, one pin at 60, number two pin at 70, and number three pin at 80 if I really felt froggy. Now, am I going to shoot that far with a bow?
I got you.
Absolutely not. I'm not shooting that far with a bow. I ain't going to. My max
Me
is
either.
30 to 40 yards, and that's it. I am not shooting. If I want to shoot that far, I'm going to break out that 300 wind mag, sorry, for any game wardens that are listening. The only window it comes out of is my shooting house.
That's right.
Just a shooting house,
Yeah.
boys.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I meant.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's all we do.
That-
Come out the shooting house. So, what do you like to do, John? What do you enjoy the most about getting a bow set up, and do you prefer a crossbow over a compound? Tell me what your thoughts are on that.
man,
I mean,
the
what is your
whole
preference?
process of it is really exciting, especially when it's brand new. Like, you go to your local bow shop or, whatever's there, and, hopefully you got a good bow tech just like you do down there in Georgia. And man, they just get you all set up. And I'll explain it how I know it. As a trap shooter and as a bird hunter, a good shotgun means everything. And the people who bird hunt know that whenever you shoulder up a shotgun, some fit and some don't. It's just like a t-shirt, man. If it fits, it fits. If it don't, it don't. It's the same thing. When you put up that shotgun to shoot that pheasant or to shoot the turkey or the duck, you're a big time duck hunter. If that gun doesn't shoulder, I don't care if it's a $1,500 whatever with the baddest choke and the this and the that, and you got the $47 million shell in it, whatever. It's not gonna work because it doesn't work with you. It's the same thing with a bow. If you hold that bow and you anchor it, and you're like, man, I am just not comfy, then guess what? I don't care if you have the best sight and the best arrow rest and you got, $700 arrows. Yeah, I'm being, a drama queen here and a bit exaggerative, but you get what I'm saying. If it doesn't feel good, man, it's not going to shoot good for you. And that's the biggest thing that I've found in the process that I have loved is finding a bow that's for me. And, whenever I find a bow that's for me, and I have, it's just a feeling like no other whenever you get something that feels like an extension of yourself, and then you get it all together and you combine the minds with the bow tech, and then you watch that arrow just do exactly what you want it to do, and you put it right where you want it every single time. Man, it is so awesome. the whole process from top to bottom. So starting out to watching the arrow go where you want it is like no other. It's so fun.
Yeah, man. So back to your point of the fitting like a t-shirt, especially when you're a fat boy like me, you got to have a t-shirt that fits right, or I look even fatter than I really am.
Yeah, I'm not trying to look like a tube of sausage going down the street.
Man, I'm telling you what, I ain't trying to look like I just rolled out of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory either.
Yeah, buddy. Nope.
Oh man, that's exactly right. Well,
but yeah, man.
you know,
so you take that same approach. Sorry, Ben. So you just take that same approach into going and finding a bow, and I promise you, it'll work. Don't look at names. Don't look at prices. You know, first hold each brand, hold different axle lengths, and you will find the one that works for you. And then once you narrow it down to 5, 6, 7, 8, then you could start thinking about whatever else. But it's got to feel good first. So anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good, man. So when you talk about axle length, so man, I cannot shoot a 29-inch axle to axle bow. I can shoot it physically, but I'm not accurate with it because I have a 30-inch draw. And from what I've gathered, the pinch point on the arrow and the string at 30 inches with a 29-inch axle to axle makes it not as accurate as a 30 to a 33-inch axle to axle, which works better for me. Now, is it a lot harder to shoot with in a ground blind? Absolutely, because you got this long rascal trying to swing it through a ground blind and get in the window, and
yep.
But it shoots more accurately for me, and that's what I'm about. Like some of my buddies, man, they shoot 29-inch draw, or they have a shorter draw, and a 29-inch axle to axle works well for them.
Yeah,
and that's wonderful.
Yeah, dude.
That's the whole point of what you're talking about. I mean, you can shim a shotgun all you want to, but it's still not going to fit you perfect as it does when you just pick it up. It's like boom. When you put your cheek on that buttstock and you see the bead at the end of the barrel and it's perfect with both eyes, you're like, "Yep, there's my gun." Instant. It's just instant. Like, "Yep, that is a killer right there." Same thing like you were talking about with the bow, man. It's exactly the same thing, and you try all types of bows. You were talking about the brands and stuff like that, but try the low end all the way up to the high end. Just see what fits you best, and see what grip feels best in your hand, because everybody's hands are different. Every single person's hands on the face of the earth are completely different. You have some small, some large, some ginormous bear paws, and some intermediate. There's just a whole combination of things, But the thing of it is, if it fits you right without doing anything to it, you're going to be more accurate and make better shots in the field.
Oh yeah. And also you're going to be more confident, because one thing that we haven't touched on is how much of a mental game bow hunting is, and archery in general.
Buddy.
As I mean, dude, if you lose confidence, I don't care what bow or whatever, or what kind of release, anything, man. If you think you're gonna miss, you're
gonna miss.
You'll miss.
Dude, it is such a mind game that if you're not out there practicing all the time, and this is a point I was going to bring up in a second, but I'm glad you did. If you're not out there practicing all the time, you're going to rush your shot because your muscles are not tuned to hold it and get set where you need to be and then touch off. This isn't like shooting a shotgun. You're not slapping the trigger like a shotgun, like boom, 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 boom. It's like shooting a precision rifle. Just cool.
Squeeze.
Just like shooting that precision rifle. Just let it scare you. Let it shock you a little bit that the bow went off. And if it does that, you're probably going to hit it right where you was aiming. And you've spent enough time practicing. And another tip that I would give people is practice in whatever you're going to be shooting out of. If you're going to be in a ground blind primarily, set up a ground blind and start shooting out of it. If you're going to be in a saddle, set up your saddle. You don't even have to climb the tree. You can set your platform there and just get used to
No.
shooting out of the saddle. Same with a tree stand.
Yep.
Get used to standing up,
Yeah. Put one
drawing
up.
back, and shooting repetitively to where you get so comfortable in that environment that you don't realize there's a difference from practice to the real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I tell you, I know a lot of people that have just, stood on the ground, or if they're a ground blind hunter, they'll just sit in a chair. Man, it's different whenever you pull back and you have all these walls around you, and then you just have this gap, and then you have some shooting lane, and then plus the deer's in front of you, so your heart's already racing. Like, it's a lot different whenever you have to channel your eye to just go in one certain path versus if you're shooting in an open field and, your peripherals just all open and going versus it's closed off in a blind. I mean, it sounds like a little thing, and it is a little thing, but it matters. So I totally agree, man. You got to practice in your element because and also just practicing different ways of holding it, or for elk hunters out there, if you're walking around a mountain and you got to squat, or even as a whitetail hunter, I've had to squat a certain way because a deer came in a way I didn't think it was going to come in, and I got to duck under this branch or something. Like, I mean, you just practice like that, and it will build confidence, which will make you a better shooter.
Yes, it becomes second nature to you when you practice that much. Because, man, I've been in a ground blind before, and I wasn't practicing out of the ground blind. I thought, shoot, man, it's just the same. So I go to get to my backstop, and my elbow hits the back of the blind before I even get back there. So I'm not even full draw and anchored, and my elbow's already hitting the back of the blind, making all kinds of racket. So I had to
Oh
regroup,
yeah.
go back, and I ended up missing the deer because of it, because they ran off and I didn't even get to shoot because it heard me boom hit the back of the blind, and I was like, well, shoot, man, what the heck? But it was all went back to me not practicing in that blind, and I didn't know where I needed to sit in that blind. I just assumed, sit all the way in the back as close as you can get to the wall. Not a great idea because I didn't know what I was getting into, and I paid the price for it. It was a pretty nice deer. Um, it would have been a good one with a
Well,
bow for sure, but
live and
yeah,
learn,
man.
as they say.
Yeah, man. We live and learn all the time, and man, I just really do thank the good Lord for giving us the opportunity to be in His creation. That's the biggest thing for me, man, is
Yeah.
being out in God's
Oh yeah.
creation. Because I, I I am not a perfect man. I ain't a perfect man by any means. I need Jesus every single day. When I wake up, I need Jesus. I ain't ever gonna be a perfect
Heard
man,
that.
but that's the beautiful thing of it, is that He's thrown our sins as far as the east is to west, and we'll never see Him again. And man, I'm very grateful for that, and to be reminded of what He's done by just sitting in His creation.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. You want to see something beautiful, you go out to those woods and grab your bow and watch the world wake up, and man, there's nothing like it. Nothing like it. So, you know, all in all, man, I think that's the most important thing is just going. Just do it. Just grab a bow, practice, and just go hunt.
Yeah, man, I say that too. And
But
as we start to wind down this episode, man, I would like to go through the different shot placements and the different colors of blood that could be on the arrow from those particular spots. I meant to mention this earlier, but it slipped my mind. You know, one thing that I noticed on that deer I
yeah, man,
shot a
let's
few
talk
weeks
about it.
ago, man, it was perfectly lung blood. It looked just like lung blood, smelled like lung blood. It did not smell bad. So lung blood is going to be a lighter color more oxygenated blood than a liver shot. A liver shot is going to be a darker colored blood, and it's not going to have the same smell as a lung shot will. Gut shot's even worse. You want to talk about stank? Woo! That thing stinks, man.
That's rough. I mean, oh my goodness. Hey, look here, man. There are sometimes that smell will make you DRT. Dead right there. I mean, it is that bad some days, boy. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, man. And you know, too,
I
when
mean,
you
that stuff will
walk up
gag a
that
maggot,
area,
buddy.
you can,
Golly.
man, I'm telling you, you already know. When you walk up to that area, you're like, yep, I gut shot down. We're going to have to let her sit a while. But, man, you know, the best kind of blood, you know, the lung blood, too, will have the oxygenated bubbles in there as well. So you'll have a little bubbly and on the fletching or the shaft of the air or whatever. But it's going to be a lighter pink color, and you know your heart shot's going to be kind of a lighter color too. Muscle is going to be sometimes it won't even bleed with the muscle shot. You know, if it's like a brisket or something like that, or you'll just have literally muscle across the fletching. Sometimes it does bleed.
Yeah.
You know, it just depends on the deer. I mean, man, every deer is different. I've seen deer be the toughest critters on the face of the earth.
Yep. Me too. I tell you, man. Also with the arrow though, if you do see right through the heart, like you got that beautiful bright red on those fletchings, you know it's money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're filming, you can roll back the footage and be like, "Yep, 10 ring that one. Let's go get it, boys." And it's like,
That is the
I
beauty.
better hold off on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know, that is definitely a plus of what we do, and you know, filming the hunt and being able to look back and see exactly where that deer went in the woods, or you know, darted off to, or how the arrow hit, and all that jazz. It is really, really awesome.
Man, it is. It helps a lot, you know, but you have to surround yourself with a good group of dudes that, you know,
Absolutely.
are selfless. You know, podcast land, internet world. So, old Johnny Boy was introduced to me by a guy named Sean Templeton, one of the coolest barbers and hunters. Man, that dude gives back so much to so many people. He has a heart of gold. And I told him, I said, man, I'm about to launch a TV show. You know, I could use some help filming. And he said, well, let me see what I can find for you. I was like, all right, cool. I mean, it wasn't a week later. He calls me up and said, hey, man, I'm going to introduce you to this guy named John. I was like, okay. He goes to MTSU, whatever.
All right, neat.
He wants to be a part. Yeah. And, you know, man, the thing of it is I was like, John, I don't know if I can pay you or not. I don't have a clue. I'm just telling you straight up. And you said, I don't care. Let's do it. And,
Yeah.
dude, you know, we've been running ever since. And this is year 3 of the show. And, you know, that just is a testament to you and your character is, you know, man, you are the real deal. And I appreciate your friendship and what all you bring to what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, you're very welcome, and I appreciate the opportunity because a lot of people, you know, don't always give those out. So I will say this, means you brought it up. For those of you that are watching this podcast, he did not stutter. We did meet through a barber, believe it or not, looking at that hairy guy, the hairy, true-blooded redneck. That is a true story.
Yeah.
We met at a barber or through a barber.
Yeah, so he trims my face every now and then, get a little hot towel going on there. Yeah, no touchy the mustache though.
Oh my
No touchy
goodness.
the mustache.
But you know,
No, it ain't gonna happen.
Speaking of that show, Rooted Television, as you know, this is Rooted Podcast, so just another extension off of that. And if you haven't yet, we're on Carbon TV and we're on YouTube. So just look up Rooted Television and check us out. And that Carbon TV, it's just an application. It's just an app you get on. If you have a device that you can get an app, which I know you do, you're listening to me talk right now. I know you have that ability. Go on there, whether it's your, Roku or your Amazon or your, or your phone, whatever. Download Carbon TV, look up Rooted TV, and like, share, subscribe, all that fun jazz, and watch that true-blooded, hairy American redneck, Ben Cole, and check us out.
Yeah, guys, check us out and make sure you check out old Johnny Boy over there. He'll probably be sipping on some chocolate milk somewhere in a corner, being cool. Man, if I could, I should just buy a tanker truck of chocolate milk that we just take around with us everywhere we go. Just have a chocolate milk on tap.
Oh man, that sounds like a dream right there.
Yeah, it does, man. So guys, thank you. This is all we got for this week. If you will, go like, subscribe, download this podcast, and don't forget, we are on all the major streaming platforms, and we have a YouTube page so you can watch what we're saying, not in real time, but you can watch it.
That's it. Check us out. We're on all the socials, everything. So please leave a review, like, share, subscribe, all that fun jazz. And thanks for listening. Until next time, see you later.
Redneck out.